So is this going to be a mobile tiny house or just a tiny house?
Yeah, so it's going to be a box truck. So we don't have like to worry about connecting it to another truck. So just having it all one solid piece. So it's going to be, so it's going to be like one of those U-Hauls, like the 28 inch, I believe. Mm. And, and then we'll have like a cubby next to the bed area.
So tell me why you have decided to build a tiny house.
It's a very stressful story for me because on Friday night we were getting home from work and it was a very long week and we had kind of been struggling getting information out there about my tutoring business and everything else. So I was just like, it was a bad week. And we get home and there's an eviction notice in our door. It's fine. We're fine. Like, we're not getting evicted. But at the time, I didn't know that because the office was closed and it wouldn't open again until 10 a.m. the next morning. So there was nothing.
Sit on it all night.
We had to sit on it all night. The way it read was like, this is like, you have to leave in 72 hours or we're going to take legal action against you. Like, that's how it read. Yeah. And so I was like, we're not going to have a home in 3 days. And so, Forrest, he's like experienced something similar to this before. And so he's like, it's fine. We'll go talk to them in the morning. Like, he wasn't too worried about it, but I always see him as kind of overly optimistic about things a lot of times. And so I was like, no, they said that we have to get out in 72 hours. So anyways, we got to talking about, what would we do if suddenly we were homeless, basically? Mm-hmm. And so we kind of were like talking about, we'd go stay with one of our parents and all this other stuff. And I was like, you know what? Why don't we just live in a van down by the river? And so then he was like, okay, well, what if we did that? And so we like started talking. I was like, I've always really wanted a tiny house, but I never thought that would be something that you wanted. And we watched a bunch of videos by like, it was like Tiny House Nation and Living Big in a Tiny something, whatever. And we just watched so many of these videos all through the night. And like, I think he is more excited about it than I am at this point. Like, he wants to do this so badly, and I've wanted to do this since beginning of college, and so, yeah.
So what happened with the eviction notice?
Oh, so he goes into the office the next morning, and they're like, okay, that's fine, just pay us the... Okay, so what happened? I didn't explain this part. What happened is that our automatic payment didn't actually get... didn't get linked to our bank, even though we set that all up the day we moved in here. Mm-hmm. And so we set that all up, and so we were like, yeah, it's fine. That's going to take care of itself. But it had been 5 days since the actual payment was due and hadn't gone through to no fault of our own. Mm-hmm. And so when he went there, they're like, oh, it's fine. Just pay us now and don't let it happen again, kind of thing. And so... very blasé to this, like, crisis that I was dealing with the night before.
Yeah, that's, like, a weird way to react to late rent is with an eviction notice, like, not an email or, like, a call or something.
Right. There's, like, no warning, like, hey, it's the day after payment's due and we still haven't gotten your payment. Like, what's up? Mm-hmm. Especially because we had a form in the office saying that we signed up for automatic payments. It just didn't go through with the bank. And so it was just nonsense. And so, but yeah, it ended up being for the best because we decided after 14 months when our lease is up that we are going to live tiny. So, yay.
So are y'all going to be building this now?
So we're going to start with the planning and so kind of like gathering materials and everything. And we kind of had decided that we're probably going to wait until after our lease is up to buy the van and, like, get started on building. But we'll have kind of everything ready to go by that point as far as, like, materials and stuff goes.
So while you're building, what are you going to do?
We're going to find somewhere to live. Probably with one of our parents, so we don't have to pay rent. But we're kind of thinking that would be a total of 2 to 3 months. So, but yeah, because we'll have everything we need by that point.
2 to 3 months to build the entire thing.
Well, we would already have like anything that's going to be put inside. We'd already have things built. Like if we're going to be building a couch, and like we're going to have flooring, so it's going to be a lot of like piecing things together in the van once we have it built. So, yeah.
And where are you going to get this van?
We are going to buy it.
Well, are you going to buy a new one or a used one?
No, used one. Yeah.
A used one?
So it's going to be about, our budget is like 30 to 40,000, and so that's going to be about like 15 to 20 of our budget, really, right there. So
So is it actually going to be a U-Haul or just like a shaped?
No, it's just going to be shaped, yeah. It's going to be, I mean, we might get a U-Haul, but that's just basically the shape that we're going to get. They're all pretty much generic, I guess, as far as their shape goes and dimensions.
Where does one buy a truck like this?
You can go to Craigslist, eBay, like different auto sales places. I don't really know like if they have like a specific name or anything, but you can buy them straight from the company or from second-hand users or whatever. So yeah, there's there's so many different ones for sale right now.
Really? So once y'all have this van built and y'all start living out of it, are y'all going to be traveling in it, or is it just going to be your home where you hang out and...
Yeah, we're planning on for a couple of years traveling around the States, and then after those 2 years are up, and we're still planning on working full-time online, and so we'll be saving up money to buy land and then build like a permanent tiny house on that land.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like y'all have it all planned out.
Nope, not in the slightest. So, yeah, there's like still things that we haven't fully, like we have no idea how the wiring or the plumbing or anything else is going to work. So that's going to be a lot of learning and trial and error and everything else to do. But we're starting our research now, so by the time we get the van, we're going to be as prepared as we can be. So, yep.
Interesting. So what made y'all decide to do it this way instead of either doing like a trailer hitch tiny home or just like living out of a van?
So it was kind of like the box truck is kind of the compromise on both. So we wanted something that was where we lived was also connected to where we drove, and so we could we didn't have to worry about buying another vehicle, and it would just be the vehicle itself is where we lived in. But at the same time, vans are very limited in their space, and it would be difficult to put everything we needed in there and for us to still stand up because he's 6 feet. So, but then also with the larger tiny houses, it costs more, and we would be kind of more worried about its exterior being damaged while traveling, and it would be harder to maneuver while traveling because we want to kind of go up into the mountains and winding roads and things like that. So, but yeah, the main thing was really having something smaller that was also connected to the cab part.
I feel like that's a more uncommon thing that people do. Like, you don't see those a lot. You see a lot of van life people, and you see a lot of tiny house people. You don't see much of the big moving truck type stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be one of the harder things, is that there's not as much like resources as far as like thinking in that perspective, because it's either we have to look at the perspective of a tiny house that's like on a trailer or the van. And so it's kind of like, for instance, we're trying to figure out our toilet and shower situation, and that's been tricky because most vans, if they have either one of those, then it's just a toilet, and or they'll have like a pop-out shower. And so we're trying to figure out, or with tiny houses, they have enough room to have them separate. So we've been trying to be like, how can we like have them in the same space and not like, you know, be having to sit on the toilet to use the shower. So,
are you gonna have 2 bathrooms in your van?
No. I think that's gonna be the most tricky thing. So, and it's gonna be interesting too. We thought of this really great idea last night that underneath the beds, we're gonna have enough clearance in the bed area to sit up comfortably, and then underneath it, that's where my office is gonna be. So it's gonna be like in like this little like, I don't know, like cave nook area. And so like I'm gonna have to find like one of those floor chairs and like figure out how that's gonna work. And so yeah, but it's gonna be kind of fun because it's like I'm going into my work cave. So, and then we also have a lot of areas around too that we can like pull out tables or something. So if I'm like, I want to actually sit like a big girl, you know, I can go to the couch or something. So, you all right?
I'm great.
Oh no.
Yeah, I've been watching this YouTube series a lot recently. I think they might have been my weekly obsession a few weeks back. But
Was it Wild We Roam? Is that the one? Yes.
Yeah. And they have a whole series about how they, you know, because they like built their van. They live out of a van. And they had a whole series about how they built their van. And it was fascinating to watch. And so Landon and I have kind of been talking about, like, at some point getting like a travel van that we could just kind of like, if we want to do an in-state trip, we could just take a van and go and not have to worry about like hotels or, you know, renting a car. Whose car are we going to take? You know, have our own little kitchen, have a bed.
Yeah, those vans are definitely good for like short trips.
Yeah.
Definitely not like living out of long term.
Depends who you ask.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it really, you have to be a very specific type of person to be like, this is fine for years. Especially, like, ones that don't have showers in them. Because I think the Wild We Roam, they don't have a shower, right?
No, they do.
Oh, okay.
They do, like, outdoor showers. Like, they have they have, like, a camping bag shower. And they just, like, shower outside the van.
Yeah. So, that's okay if, like, you're in the middle of the forest. But if you, like, park at Walmart a couple of times.
You know, they don't care. I mean, they shower in bathing suits, and so they're just like, here's good.
Okay, if you're doing, yeah. Okay.
It was interesting because, you know, I don't know, they would just talk about stuff, and I was like, I'd never thought about it that way. Yeah. Like, they were talking about how they, like, hot running water doesn't really matter to them anymore because they've gotten so used to just kind of like taking cold showers, because if it's winter and you gotta take a shower but your shower's outside, you gotta do it anyway.
Oh yeah.
And so they were just like, that doesn't really bother us anymore. We've kind of gotten used to it by now. It was just one of those things. It's like, man, you get to that point where your priorities are way different.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, like, you know, while you're kind of in like super comfortable environment and stuff, it's like, oh, I can never do that. But it's like, you can adapt to a lot. You can get used to a lot. But yeah, we wanted to, I think, so yeah, we were talking actually on the way home about how to heat our shower and stuff. And so we're trying to look into like heating, like, systems that can just like go into the wall and stuff. So yeah, so there's a lot of different things. We might end up trying to we're still in the beginning stages, so that's kind of Well,
I would just say, like, when you're working out your dimensions and stuff, keep in mind like your walls are going to shrink because you're going to have to insulate them, and so your dimensions will be slightly smaller than the actual dimensions of the back of the van.
Yeah. So that's one thing that we still haven't. Like, we kind of, like, that sketch that I showed you was very, very rough because, we didn't take that into consideration. And then also, too, it's kind of like, you know, we don't really know how well, like, for instance, if we were talking about putting a mini fridge in, and then we're like, okay, well, we can just put a wall around each side of the mini fridge that isn't, like, the doors. And they're like, oh, well, that's only going to be this much space because of this. But it's like, well, we don't really know if putting in the mini fridge, if there's going to need to be some, like, parts sticking out or something like that, or like it's not going to go flush to the wall, and so that's going to take up space. So it's just things like that are going to be very unexpected.
Well, it sounds like there's going to be a lot of stuff in the learning process in the next 14 months.
Yes, that's gonna. Yep, I'm already tired. I'm just kidding.
Well, if y'all need help with anything, I don't know, just brainstorming or talking through ideas out loud.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're definitely gonna be like, Emily, we have this sketch. Please help us draw straight lines. You're our only hope. No, but like, yeah, I mean, I think that you have a really good like designer eye, and so like if there's like something we want to do, you can kind of be like, that might work better a different way or something like that. So yeah, or you can just build a tiny house with us, and then we could have a convoy, and then we could work together on. It'd be great. That could be you and Landon's first place.
It's a tiny moving van with everybody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, you'd get your own, but yeah.
But just park them next to each other. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Ooh, we could like back them up to where the back doors open together. We could have a bigger house. That'd be pretty great.
So is that going to be your main door in and out, the back of the van, the back of the truck?
We're actually gonna put in a side door.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we'll also have a door to the cab too. Yeah.
Yeah, because that would get real annoying if that's the only way you can get in and out, is that little door in the back.
That'd be awful, because then there's like all of your heat and or air is gone, and it's just like,
immediately.
Yeah. So, or all the bugs or whatever. So yeah, so what a lot of people do with movie vans is they'll take that sliding door out, and then they'll put like a wooden facade there with like a normal house door. So it kind of looks like a tiny house that was covered by a moving van kind of thing. Oh, really? Yeah, so it's kind of funky looking, but yeah, that's what some people do. But I like the idea of a side door more, because it's we also can utilize a bit more space in the back there. The biggest challenge, and so I've been thinking a lot about this too, is Charlie.
She's not gonna like the van?
She's gonna hate it. But I've also like looked up like how to have a cat in a tiny house, and then also like a van, because like it's kind of like in between, because it's not enough space for her to like, you know, with like a tiny house there's more things you can do with it, but also like what do we do with our litter box and like all this other stuff. So but I found out that this one woman who had a van, she harnessed and leash trained her cat. Which Charlie's gonna love.
Yeah, I bet.
But it's gonna make it nice to where if we want to like have all the doors and windows and everything open, we can just tether her to the inside, so she can like go outside and like run around and stuff, but she won't be snatched up by something. So. But I'll be sure to record us first putting on her harness, because
yes, I want footage of that.
It's gonna be hilarious.
And how
one time when I first got her, not when I first got her, but about a year or so after, I put a Build-A-Bear t-shirt on her, and she was just like petrified. Like she was just like, I will not move ever again. I kept like pushing her, and she just would roll. It was really cute.
Yeah, I want to see the death glares she gives you when you put a harness on her.
Yeah. She has no idea what's coming. Like we'll be at the kitchen table just like planning, and she like rubs up against us. Is like, you like us now?
You don't know what's about to happen.
Yeah. So, but yeah. Anyways, if you ever want to build a tiny house, I mean, we're learning it, so
Okay.
We're figuring it out.
Well, again, I'm here for help. I'm free labor, so.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, we'll need your artistic abilities for sure, and good design eye and everything.
Mm.
So, because the thing is that we can figure out measurements, put it all together and stuff. It's gonna look like garbage. So we're gonna be like, Emily, help us make it look pretty.
We'll make it look pretty. That'll be good.
Yeah.
So why was this your ending conclusion when y'all were trying to figure out, okay, what would we do if we can't live in this apartment in 3 days?
I think
How did y'all come to this decision as opposed to like, oh, well, we'll find a different place to go?
I think it was like, the overall reason for us like having that eviction notice was like because our rent didn't go through or whatever, and so I was kind of like, I don't know. I got to thinking about just the price of living and like how we're expected to continue to like just move up and get more space and pay more money and like all this other stuff, and we have to get we have to work twice as hard for all the stuff that we don't really need. And so I think that was I was just like, you know what, why don't we have something that we will never have to like for instance, we were just like for funsies a few weeks ago looking up houses around us, and there's these really tiny like 1,500 square feet houses that were $400,000. And so it was just like, it's outlandish, one, just how much we're expected to pay for housing and everything, but then we're also paying for a lot of stuff that we don't need. So I think that was just kind of my whole thought process was like, we're paying for all this stuff, we're making ourselves miserable, we're constantly worried about, what if this were to happen, what if we were to lose our job, how would we pay rent, everything else like that. And, I knew how inexpensive tiny houses were, especially for like having all your needs met, having comfort, being able to design your own space and build your own house and everything else. But, I think most tiny houses run between $40,000 to $80,000 overall, like for like the nice ones too. I mean, they can go much, much more expensive. I mean, depending on what you put in there, the materials you use and everything else. But yeah, it just kind of boiled down to, I don't want to keep doing this, like keep having to worry about, keeping up with, all the expenses that comes with living in an apartment or in a house or whatever. So, yeah.
That's a good reason to do it.
Yeah. And I think like once we started, about the stuff that we don't need, like once we started like looking at what we'd have to get rid of and everything else, we were kind of like Forrest looked up at me one day and he was like, why do we have so many different kinds of spoons? And I was like, I don't know. Those just they're just there. Like we just, like if I don't have a little spoon, I'll use a big spoon because we're out of little spoons, and it just gives me another reason not to clean the dishes, run the dishwasher or whatever. And so, just a bunch of stuff. Like, I realized too, like, you know how many bookshelves I have, but like a lot of those books I'm never going to read again. And so it's like, why do I have them? And then just, just a bunch of things that came up, and like, what do we really like? What could we not live without? And it was just like, we don't need the amount of space for what we can't live without. So
are you going to start KonMariing and minimalizing between now and the end?
Yeah, so that's going to be kind of, and, you know, we have a lot of time, so we can kind of take it a little bit slow, just kind of be like, okay, well, what do we kind of want to enjoy right now? And then once we've enjoyed it, we're going to get rid of it. So kind of like, for instance, the books that I have. So I'm going to make sure that if I haven't read it, either it goes in my to be read list, or I just deal with the fact that I'm never going to read it and put it in the donate pile. So, yeah. I'm definitely going to enjoy the fact that I have my own bathroom for the next year. So, so have you, I know you talked about you and Landon getting a van, but have you ever thought about living in a tiny house?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I've wanted to live in a tiny house probably since high school. But every time I would bring it up, my mom would be like, you couldn't live in a tiny house. You have too much stuff. And I'm like, that's the point, Mom. I would learn to live with not as much stuff.
Yeah.
You just can't do it. You're not capable of that.
Well, you know what, Emily?
What?
I believe in you.
Oh, thank you.
Do you think that that's something in your future, or is there something that you're kind of like, oh, well, I couldn't do that because, you know, like this reason or these reasons or whatever?
I think that, you know, like I said, Landon and I talk about having a travel van. And, you know, if I were to, you know, become a hippie or something, that would probably be the road that I would go down, and pun intended. The road that I would go down instead of a tiny house would be like van life.
Yeah.
Because I think I'd rather drive a van than try to drive around a tiny house. I feel like more and more tiny houses are more fixed items. They're less travel oriented now.
Yeah.
Like, they're easily movable, but not a lot of people move them.
Yeah, they're kind of like mobile homes. Like, they can be moved, but no one really does.
Right. I mean, because you end up in a tiny house community, and you just kind of like stay there. And so I'm still not opposed to a tiny house, but if I don't ever, you know, make the jump to van life, then I think I would still always try to stick to, like, okay, if I do want to get a house, it doesn't need to be huge. I don't need a 2 or 3 story, you know, 50,000 square foot house. Yeah. Like, not even close. Like, I think kind of maintaining the ideas of using space wisely and staying in smaller living is fine.
Yeah, you're definitely a small cottage with a garden kind of person.
That sounds nice.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I see these people that I feel like, I don't know, everybody wants to be like, oh, anybody and everybody can live in a tiny house. And, like, I remember following these people on Instagram. It was a wife and her husband and their 3 kids, and they lived in a school bus-sized tiny house. They lived in an RV, basically. Oh, yeah. And, you know, about 6 months ago, they went and bought a house because they were like, you know what? This is not a lot of space for 5 people.
Yeah, when you have 3 kids, that's no. Maybe one, like a baby, but like once they're like running around and stuff. Yeah, that's not.
And so I think, you know, as we keep exploring all these different ideas and ways of living, like tiny houses and vans and, you know, different ways to go through your things like KonMariing and minimalism, I feel like now it's just going to be more of kind of a hybrid of all of those things will be how I end up living. Probably not sticking to one as my dogma from now on and forever, but just kind of like mushing them all together and using those in whatever situation I end up in.
Yeah, I think Forrest and I kind of wanted to do this thing where while we were, you know, childless, we wanted to travel around and like be free and, you know, be kind of hippie-ish and, you know, live off the grid and stuff. And But then like once we like decide, okay, now it's time to start a family, we're gonna buy a plot of land, and then we're gonna build a tiny house, and then we'll build like, have you seen those where it's like 2 tiny houses but they're like connected with like a breezeway or whatever? So like, yeah, so have like a tiny house for the kids on one side, and so just kind of expand from there to where it's like we only get more when we actually need it, you know?
Yeah. So where's the first place y'all are gonna go?
So we haven't decided that yet, but I would want to go to, we talked about like redoing our honeymoon, but you know, instead of staying at the places where we stayed, just go camping basically in those same areas, and so just kind of do what we did for our honeymoon, but like less luxurious. And yeah, because we went to New Mexico, and then we went to Colorado and the St. Isabel mountains, I guess, and so we wanted to go retrace our steps there. So that'll probably end up being the first place that we go. But we've also talked about like the Grand Canyon and the Yellowstone National Park, and even like going up to New York and things like that. So
one thing that I learned from watching Wild We Roam is that y'all's cooking life would be a lot easier for us to be a vegetarian.
Yes. So I've talked to him about that a couple of times. He kind of decided that it's going to be kind of more like if we go out to try, you know, the local cuisine, and if he wants to like have like, you know, one article, I guess, of meat, piece of meat, I don't know, in the freezer or something. But so he won't ever be vegetarian, but he's gonna try to stick to it as much as possible just to make things easier. So he's already kind of doing that now, just to be healthier and stuff like that. But but yeah, the whole kitchen situation is going to be interesting, because he's decided that we're going to have 2 electric burners, and he just made dinner tonight, and he made he used 4 burners, and so it's like, he was just making spaghetti, and so
what?
So he's gonna have to learn how to kind of downsize his cooking, but you know, and also just us not having as much ingredients on hand, so we're gonna have to learn to like really utilize like bulk ingredients and stuff, like grains and other things.
Quinoa and rice.
Yep, we'll have a lot of that, so but yep. Then our sink's gonna be half the size it is now, and so it's like we gotta make sure to limit our dishes, and we're not gonna have a dishwasher, so we're gonna have to hand wash everything, and so yep.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the good thing about doing this at this stage when it's just you two, is that you only need like 2 bowls.
Yeah.
I mean, true. You know, you kind of throw out like hosting capabilities when you do this. It's like, okay, y'all can come over, but we can't eat here because we don't have any plates.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you know, if you just have like one of each of what you each need, then it takes up a lot less space.
Yeah.
2 bowls, 2 forks, 2 spoons.
Yeah, that's true. Like, we're only gonna really need like one little shelf to really like hold all of our eating utensils and things. So we have,
especially if you wash it right after you use it, then it's like, all right,
yeah,
use this for lunch and dinner and breakfast.
Yeah, exactly. Just like, I'll just put it back and I'll have it again for lunch. So yep. So it's gonna be, I think it's like one of those things where it's like, it's gonna be definitely something that we need to do a lot of like research and like practice and like everything, and it's gonna be kind of tricky starting off, but I think it's like once we get into the rhythm of it, it's really gonna it's just gonna work. Like it's just gonna be one of those things that's like, okay, well, once you get past this stage, then it's like, okay, well, yeah, of course, I just ate breakfast, so I'm gonna wash my bowl and put it back up. Meanwhile, I eat breakfast and I put it in the sink and I'll fill it with water for a little bit. Then an hour later, I'll come back and I'll rinse it out and I'll put it in the dishwasher. And it'll sit in the dishwasher for 3 days until we run it. So
I think your hardest part is going to be getting in there. Yep. Getting it all done, getting it all made, getting in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to try to...
It's not going to be that bad.
Yeah. I want to try to convince Forrest to buy the truck before we move out of our apartment, just so we'll have more time to work on it. Because once we have the truck, then we can kind of like... And we have the walls and floor and ceiling in, then it's like... Then we actually know what we're working with as far as space goes. But the thing about that is that, it's going to be tricky to know whether or not we're going to have the funds to fully buy the truck, or if we're going to need to, take a loan out on it or whatever. And he's very anti-loans, so...
Yeah, probably for good reason.
Yeah.
Not fun.
No. So it's just kind of like one of those things that's like, well, we need to figure out, would having it longer be better and like have a little bit of interest put on because of loans that we could pay off, but so it's just kind of like a bunch of different stuff that comes into play.
Yeah. So what are you calling it, a truck or a van?
It's a truck, yeah.
It's a truck, okay.
Yeah, I call it van a lot of times. I kind of go in between because it's kind of like, yeah.
It's a moving van or a moving truck, and so they kind of are synonymous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so.
Depends on what area of the Americas you are from, I guess.
Yes. So.
Well, you'll have to name it once you get it.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that. I don't know what we're going to name it. I want to put it's, I don't know, it's kind of a quote that's been way overused lately, but it's been a quote that I've loved for a very long time, but I want to put not all who wander are lost on it, but I'm afraid that's cliche now, so.
It does get used a lot.
I'm just gonna put the Elvish on my arm onto the truck, so then it's unique.
Yeah, and then nobody will know what it is.
Yeah, exactly. They'll be like, oh, is that... Wait, what was I think it was Sanskrit. Like, someone got mistaken for it, and they're like, "Why do you have Sanskrit on your arm?" And I was like, "Chill, it's it's Elvish. I'm not
Sure,
trying
it's
to
nerdy, don't
cultural
worry.
appropriate you or anything. So
Yeah, but you can't name your van. Not all who wander are lost. It's not a name.
I know. I was just saying that I'd like to like put that on the side of it or something. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe like. Ooh, it'd be really cute to name it Bilbo.
Aw, that would be cute.
I think we're gonna name it Bilbo. Forrest doesn't get to decide. I've decided just now.
It's a cute name.
Yeah. He goes on journeys and he's kind of small. And
Yeah.
So.
It's a cute name.
Yeah. Another thing you're gonna have to help me with is I want to like design this thing that goes on the wall for like it's like a kitty ladder kind of thing to where it's like Charlie can like because we're also eventually going to get a dog and so it's gonna be like how are we gonna get Charlie in a box truck with a dog? Holy crap!
Oh my gosh!
So this is also why I've been thinking
just maybe that's not a good idea.
Yeah, like, that's what I'm kind of thinking, like, maybe it's like, hey, Mom and Dad, you want to hold on to Charlie for a couple of years so we don't, like, torture her, basically?
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyways, so, even if we don't end up getting a dog, I wanted to, like, do this thing where it's, like, platforms going up, but it was, like, decorated so it wasn't just looked like boards sticking out of the wall or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm going to need your help with that. So.
Okay.
Yep.
I can't remember the first time I heard about tiny houses, but I do remember one time my mom and I went to the state fair and we were walking around and there was like an exhibition there that was like, come see some tiny houses. Mm-hmm. And I was like, tiny houses. And Mom was like, oh my gosh, we have to go to that. You love tiny houses. And I was like, yes. Mm-hmm. So we go over and we start looking at them and they're not tiny houses. They're like, they're like trailer homes, basically. Mm-hmm. And we were walking through them, and my mom was, like, unimpressed. And I was like, Mom, do not think that these are tiny houses. These are small homes. These are not tiny houses. They are not the same thing.
Was that at the state fair? Because I remember seeing something like that. Yeah, it was like, they're, like, little shacks, like.
Yeah, they were calling them tiny houses, but they weren't tiny houses.
They're like small mobile homes.
Exactly. Small homes are not tiny houses.
Yeah.
Difference.
Very different. I think the first time I heard about tiny houses, it was my like second or third semester in college, and I was watching HGTV because I was like so I was really into the Food Network back then, and so I would switch between the Food Network and HGTV because I didn't have anything better to do with my life at the time. But anyways, so I was watching like some like house flipping show or whatever, and then the next show that came on was Tiny House Nations, and I sat there just enthralled. I was like, how are they fitting so much stuff into this little like when you think about it, it's like 250 square feet. That's like nothing, but then in a tiny house it's like it's huge, and it's just crazy like what they could do with it. So it's like I don't know if you've ever seen that show, but they start out talking to a family and they're like, this is what we want to do, this is how much stuff we have, all this other stuff. And so the show like builds it for them. They build their tiny house, and while they build it, they also talk about like, okay, well, you can only put 3 baskets worth of stuff of your own in the tiny house, so you have to figure out what goes in the basket, what's important enough to go in the basket. And so it like teaches them like how to downsize and everything else like that. And I was like, whoa. And like when I saw that, like I had like a journal and I was like printing out photos of like different tiny houses that I wanted, and I was just like, I'm gonna do this. And then it just kind of went away because I wanted to do it for so long, but then it was like once I was like, oh well, here's this person that I want to live with and everything else, and he's like 6 feet. And it was like, well, tiny houses are really more for maybe like one person or one person and a significant other who's like 5'6", And so I just kind of like put that in a box and put it in a closet, and then locked that closet up and threw away the key. And, like, it wasn't, and, like, Forrest was like, I never even knew what tiny houses were. And I was like, oh, I should have really, like, talked to you about that, I guess. So.
Yeah, I remember when I was first bringing up the idea of kind of doing, like, having a van life van to land in. I was just like, so, what do you think about this? And he was just like, yeah, that sounds awesome. And I was like, I thought I was going to have to do a lot more convincing than that.
Like, when I was talking to Forrest about it, I, like, showed him a couple videos, and I was like, oh, man, he's, like, never going to go for this. And he, like, turned to me, and he was like, this is awesome. I can't believe we're doing this. And I was just like, oh, my God. Like, and so, like, then I found the key in a shrub. I unlocked the closet. I pulled out the box. So, it was really great. But, yeah. Yep.
I think I probably came across tiny houses when I was looking at, like, organization videos or something like that.
Yeah.
And they was just like, this person organizes all of their stuff in 250 square feet. And I was like, what? Like, so probably just through organization looking up stuff came across it. And then I feel like there's a lot more tiny house content on YouTube than there is on, like, Pinterest. Like, my tiny house board on Pinterest is pretty sad.
Yeah, there's so many videos of tiny houses on YouTube. But yeah, like, I'll, like, look up tiny house, or I'll look up tiny house ideas, or I'll look up tiny house storage, and it's all the same pictures, because, like, that's all they have. So, yeah.
Be better, Pinterest. Like, you let me down in this one area.
Come on, Pinterest, dude. You're doing so good.
You are. But not there.
Not there.
Well, are you going to video document this whole process?
Yes.
Because you do need to.
I do, yeah. Like, that's like we're about to put everything up on the table, and I was like, wait, we need to, like, take pictures of this, the layout and all we had, like, cutouts of stuff, and, like, all the computers were open around us, and so I took a picture of that, and, so yeah, we're gonna, once we're gonna wait a little bit to break the news to our parents. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, so we'll probably start posting, like, after we've talked to them about it. So,
yeah.
We don't want to be like, hey, Mom and Dad, we're going to be living in a van down by the river. And
even though that's exactly how you pitched it to your husband.
Yeah. It's different when it's your husband. So, yeah. Probably after 3 or 4 months of planning and figuring out pricing and everything else like that, we're gonna talk to them about it. Once we, like, have, like, here, we actually know what we're doing. So, Emily, what's your weekly obsession?
I don't know.
You sounded, like, so scared. Like, I don't know. Where am I?
No, I've been, I mean, I don't know. I might have to cop out and say I don't have one this week because I've been sick all week, so I haven't really been doing anything. I've been rewatching a lot of stuff, and so...
What have you been rewatching?
I've been rewatching Yuri on Ice, which is an anime that I freaking love.
Is it about ice skaters?
It is.
Okay.
It's a sports anime about ice skaters.
Oh yeah, you really like sports anime, right?
I do.
Yeah.
So I've been rewatching that, and that's been helping me because it's, like, comforting and stuff. So, was that Charlie?
Yeah.
That she didn't sound pleased.
I was scratching her face, so her voice was kind of distorted.
So yeah, so I think my weekly obsession has just been, surrounding myself with things that I like to make myself feel better.
Yeah, okay. I like it. I dig it.
Yeah. So,
cool.
Nothing new, really. What about you, Caitlin? What was your weekly obsession?
So, Forrest surprised me on Sunday with Let's Go Pikachu on the Switch.
Oh my gosh.
So, I've been playing that all week. And it's the best. So it is a remake of the Pokemon Yellow, Blue, and Red, and specifically the Yellow because Pikachu's following you around. There's also an Eevee one, but we don't talk about that one. So But it's super cute because it's like, I mean, it's this game that I grew up on. Like, I played red, blue, and yellow, like, all the way through. And so I'm very familiar with it. And so, like, I know, like, when you click on characters, I know what they're going to say. And, like, but it's beautiful, and it's really well done, and it's in 3D, which is really cool, because the other one was pixelated, because it was, like, back in 90-something. And Pikachu is adorable. I got a female Pikachu, and she's just the cutest. Like, her tail is like, so normal Pikachu's tail is just like a straight line, but her tail is like the top of a heart, and it's really cute. But anyways, like, you can interact with Pikachu, and you can, like, pet her, and, like, you can feed her treats, and you can dress her up. So my Pikachu is dressed up, like, so she has, like, a fedora hat and, like, a vest on, and then she has, like, big glasses, and she's super cute. I'll have to show you a picture sometime.
Yeah, I want to see.
So I'm pretty much, like, I'm probably about 75% through the game already. I've caught, like, 80 Pokemon and stuff, so... So I'm like, I've just been, like, super into it. It's really great, and it's just super fun just to kind of relive that childhood game. So, yeah.
Ooh. See, this can't be my weekly obsession this week because it hasn't happened yet, but I already know what my weekly obsession for next week is going to be.
Oh, yeah? What's that?
BTS has a new album coming out in, like, 5 hours.
Oh my gosh, another Boys That Sing album come out. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
It's gonna be so
The boys are singing again, and it's gonna be glorious.
Oh, have they like announced their new band member and everything too?
What?
Remember they, like, were having their band something
Oh,
like that?
that's a different band. Same company, different band. But
okay.
Yeah, for that band, all of their members have been announced, and they released their first like, little short album. So they're rocking and rolling, and so now it's the Big Brother band turn.
Okay, so that's not the Boys That Sing, it's some other guys.
Yeah, so the other guys were TXT, and Boys That Sing, they've been around for a while, and they have a new album coming out.
So it's like the xylophone team, right?
Well, yeah.
I'm really great at acronyms.
The xylophone team.
Yeah.
It's pretty great.
So, well, that's cool, yeah. So
I'm calling it right now.
Okay.
That's going to be my weekly obsession next week.
Sounds good. You'll have to, like, send me some of their songs. Do you have, like, a Spotify? Are they on Spotify?
They are.
Okay. So you'll have to, like, I'll just look up Boys That Sing.
Okay. I'm trying to think, like, well, you won't find them if you do that, but yeah. I'm trying to think, like, if I were to send you some, which ones I would send you. Because honestly, I'm not exactly sure what kind of music you like.
Well, I'm not exactly sure either, to be totally honest with you. Okay. Like, I go into Spotify and, like, what do I want to listen to? I'm like, I don't know. You tell me, Spotify. Like, So.
Well, I mean, I guess you can just kind of look up their most popular stuff and see if you like any of that.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, all right.
If you were to get into Boys That Sing, that would make my life.
Okay. Well, I'll try my best.
I would be so excited.
I will try my darndest. Just because it would make your life.
It would.
Thank you for listening to Almost Sisters. I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Emily.
You can follow me at authorcsloanlewis.com for my blog and csloanlewis on Instagram. You can follow Emily Painter on YouTube. Almost Sisters is a production of Blab and Scribble Studios. You can follow all our current and future projects by going to blabandscribble.wordpress.com. You can find links to all our stuff in the description box. Emily, should we do an outro?
No, not today.